There you go. You're there. How are you? Hello there, Joe.
And you?
You're there.
Right,
Fantastic.
doing really well.
Thank you very much for joining us today. It's an absolute privilege to speak to you. Joe, look, you've been informing, inspiring, and engaging people to think about peace for many years. I'd like to take a bit of time really to understand your story and just share your experience with us of how all of this has started. Can you share that with us?
Thank you. So it started a long time ago in 1984 when a bomb went off at a hotel in Brighton, and my dad was staying at the hotel. He was a Conservative Party politician, and it was their annual conference. And he was killed in the bomb blast. And it was the IRA who said later that they had targeted the Conservative Party. And that I was 27, and that just changed my life completely because I had been living in peacetime. And the moment the bomb went off and I heard about it, I no longer lived in peacetime because I understood the pain of. I didn't just lose my dad that day, who I adored, but I lost the me that was part of that believed in peace, because now things have changed. So 2 days later, I made a commitment. I'm going to bring something positive out of it. I'm going to try and understand those that have killed my father because I don't want an enemy. If I have an enemy, if I go for revenge, if I blame, if I stay a victim, then I've lost twice. I've lost my dad, and then I've lost the person I am. And so a journey started, and back in the 80s, couldn't just Google it, but I trusted that life would bring me the experiences in order to understand why someone would want to plant a bomb. And extraordinary serendipity started happening very, very soon. And I went to Northern Ireland in the heart of the conflict, in the heat of the conflict, and met people who shared their stories with me. But it was only in the peace process that my life changed again. So one person was sentenced for planting the bomb, and that was Patrick McGee. And he came out of prison as a free person as part of the peace process in 99. And that's when I thought, maybe I can build a bridge with him. And it took a year and a half after that. I went to meet him on my own, and we had a 3-hour meeting. Now, I didn't meet him to change him. I didn't need an apology. I didn't meet him to tell him he was a bad man. I met him to understand his story, to put the human face behind. At that time, he was the most demonized terrorist we had because he nearly killed the whole British government. But I wanted to see him as a human being because that would restore something in me that was lost when the bomb went off. And he started off by giving me a lot of justification, political justification, and I was familiar with that. And I remember at one point looking into his eyes and seeing how much he cared for his community. And at that moment, there is humanity there, there's kindness and sensitivity, and he's not the demonized person he had been. He's a human being. I thought, I'm going to go now because it's quite difficult sitting here hearing him justify killing my father. And that's when he changed. And he said to me, I don't know anymore who I am. Can I hear your anger? Can I hear your pain? I don't know what to do, but I want to be there to help you. And I knew that he started his journey. And it was a journey which we're still on. When he planted that bomb, he didn't see human beings in the hotel. And that is the nature of violence, the demonization. And through meeting me that first meeting, and through me, he would say he was disarmed by my empathy. And that enabled him to begin his journey of seeing my dad as a human being.
That is such an
And that
incredible.
for him was a huge step.
That's such an incredible journey that you've gone on. You said 2 days after it happened, you kicked into looking for that moment of peace. 2 days. What was the how was that happen so quickly?
Like looking back, I don't know. How did I 2 days later? But I think it was because the person I already was. So I had someone who'd already written and entered an essay competition talking about Mahatma Gandhi and non-violence. I'd already spent 2 years meditating in the Himalayas. So I was someone who very much had a spiritual direction. And I think that helped me, but did not give me the how. Nothing prepared me for the emotions of what I went through, for the trauma. And it took a long time to actually really grasp the enormity, the emotional shock of what happened. But the direction was there, I think, because the person always had been.
How do you know when you finally meet this person? How do you know that you believe them? How do you feel that?
Well, I just knew, it's very hard for someone to pretend um, to go through that shift. His voice changed, his emotions changed, and we've now spent 22 years of sharing stages. I don't do that much with him anymore, but we do the occasional talk together. I've seen him. I've seen his pain. I've seen his anguish. I've seen his remorse. The trust that's built up is incredible. It's 22 years of engagement of going to different places. I've been to like Rwanda, and he's the only person that I know there, and so we're giving each other support. We've been in difficult places. We've had a riot after we've spoken. Um, he knows me very well, and I think it's that trust that's built up, which is real and comes through absolute honesty. He's always listened to the impact of his actions on me and taken absolute responsibility. And he's made it safe for me to be with him. And when people say, would I recommend what I've done to other people? I say, well, there's so many different parts that have to be in place.
Yeah.
Originally, it was a one-off meeting, and I thought I'm going to meet him, and no one will ever know. Little did I know that it would become something that you know, it's still happening, and I'm writing a book about it, and there could be a film being made and documentaries, and people all around the world study the nature of our dialogue, of our reconciliation.
It is an amazing story. Is forgiveness and reconciliation a prerequisite for peace?
No, I don't think so. I know amazing people who work as change makers, as peace builders, who say they can't forgive, they haven't got justice, and yet their hearts are full of compassion and are doing amazing work. I think it's more about giving up revenge, it's giving up trying to change the past, it's giving up demonizing people. Because when we demonize people, we're actually giving our power away. We're actually changing our own ability to be a change maker. So for me, it's more about revenge, because revenge turns into harm and turns into hurting people when it's at its most extreme.
Yeah. Most violence happens at homes, schools, communities, places of work. What do you say to individuals to inspire them on their journey of becoming peace builders?
Another great question. I mean, I do a lot of work in schools, and I see young people carrying a lot of grievances, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. It's a hard world we're in. And I say to them, you may not have chosen what's happened to you, but you can choose how you respond. And it will be your way and your journey. And there isn't one route. It's going to be what works for you. Whatever you're feeling right now is understandable. But with support, with help, with people who believe in you, as I believe in you, you can transform what's happened to you and make a difference. And my story might be a global story, but it can be a small story. It can be having a conversation with someone who perhaps has hurt you. It can be being kind. I worked in one school during the pandemic where these young 13-year-olds were so scared and distraught, and they ended up, it was their idea, doing projects of kindness and resilience. And they were thinking what the teachers were going through. And they made these beautiful badges which had like peaceful mottos on them. It was all their words, and they handed them out. And that made them feel better. Because I do think one way that makes us feel better is being kind, is turning our grievances into an act of compassion and kindness and peace.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing and a beautiful sentiment. What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated to drive for peace around the world?
It's partly the injustice that I see. It's partly that my heart is tuned now to really caring deeply about people. And for a lot of people, there's so much injustice. And I really now have grown to a place where I care about people and I love humanity. I love people. Wherever I go, I meet amazing people and I'm given so many gifts. So life has become full of serendipity and miracles and extraordinary people I've been blessed to meet and opportunities to make a difference. So I believe in people. I believe just as we can all hurt each other, we all have the power to make a difference in the world. And that gives me a huge sense of hope and resilience. And in the end, I think it is actually about love.
All comes down to love, and just, I mean, your passion and drive for this is obviously phenomenal, and this is a phenomenal story. If people want support, where do they go?
But if people want support, there's many organisations that are giving help. If anyone ever wants to contact me, I'm very, very happy to. I do a lot of supporting, empowering, and listening. I have my website, Building Bridges for Peace, and my other website, joe-berry.com. Just Google me, I'm around. So contact me. And if anyone would ever like me to come and do a workshop or a talk in a school or in a community, I am absolutely willing to do this. And, I just love the interaction. I work with people. It's not about two people. I'm there to give people an opportunity to share their stories. And for a lot of people, they haven't shared their stories. And through sharing and listening, it's definitely a way of letting go and moving on.
Have you ever wavered from this direction? Have you ever, do you ever have bad days where you think, different things, darker thoughts that, or have you always, do you just keep going? Where do you find that inspiration from?
Oh yeah, no, I have difficult days. Days when like what's going on in the world is just so painful, or just even in my life, and when I just feel like I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna give up, and then always something happens to remind me. And I know because I'm very resourced. I have a load of fantastic friends around me. I know that once I've felt the pain, I can't deny the feelings. I have to feel them and then let them go. So the question I always ask myself, and I think it's a great question, is what do I need to do right now to feel better? So it's recognizing that I'm not in my most loving, exuberant, happy place. So what do I need to feel better? And I'm really familiar with a whole range of feelings. And I think that's why I sort of can create emotional safety in my work. So I'm not scared to feel anything, but whatever I'm feeling, it's not about using it to blame another human being or to hurt anyone. I take complete responsibility. What do I need to feel better? And then quite often something pops up. And for me, it's very much about walking in nature, as well as ringing a friend.
Amazing. If you could say one thing to inspire a young person on their journey, what would that be? What would your words of wisdom taken from your journey be?
I want them to know that they matter, that they have a voice, that they are part of the change. We need everyone to be part of the change. And a lot of people my age, I think, very much disempower young people, demonize them. And that's not okay. Young people are, in my mind, absolutely incredible. I've done so many change makers programs in different schools, and they all have a vision. They all have something they want to do. And despite the grievances, despite the frustrations, it's possible to use them to be a positive change maker. And that right now, I'm giving you the message that you matter and you have a voice.
Although we're running out of time, do you still get inspired every time you speak to people? Are you inspired? People are inspired by your story. Are you inspired by their stories?
Oh, I'm inspired all the time by people I meet, wherever I go. And I think the nature of my work is that people are very quick to open up and share. I've never met anyone who shared their story, what they've been through, where I sort of end up thinking, oh my God, it's amazing how well you're doing after everything you've been through. And that's extraordinary, and that sense of just wonder and awe at what human beings go through. And I'm absolutely privileged that I'm blessed that I get to hear so many stories. So yeah, no, that always inspires me.
Well, Joe, it's been an absolute inspiration to speak to you today. Thank you so much for your time. An amazing story. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh,
Over to
thank
you, Joe.
you.